A warning to our listeners, the details in this story are disturbing. In a few weeks, one of the Winnipeggers accused of torturing and killing 10 cats will be back in court. Chad Cabez and his partner Irene Lima were arrested earlier this month and are facing numerous animal cruelty charges. Police allege the two sold videos on the dark web that showed one of them crushing cats and kittens with their feet. As we await more details of the case, folks are wondering what could push someone to harm an animal. We've reached Amy Fitzgerald. She teaches criminology at the University of Windsor and specializes in animal abuse. And Amy joins us by Zoom. Welcome to the program. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
This case was a shock to many Winnipeggers. When you heard about this, what came to mind for you first?
Well, unfortunately, this is one of several cases of crush videos that I'm aware of. So, unfortunately, it's something that does take place. But I can understand people, being certainly distraught by the news of what took place.
Can you contextualize this for us? And we should also mention that none of the allegations have been proven in court. But what these folks are accused of doing, I mean, just how common are these sorts of charges?
Well, that's a good question. It's hard to know because, unfortunately, we don't do a particularly good job in the country of tracking animal abuse cases. So we don't have very good data to rely on. And that's certainly an issue. And it's compounded by the fact that animal maltreatment cases tend to be grossly underreported as well. So it's hard to know how many cases like this have taken place within the country.
So hard to have pure data or reliable data. But you do have a sense of why someone might harm animals in this way. What does the research show about what might drive someone to do this?
Well, there are a number of potential factors. So for some, it's related to their own individual gratification. For others, it's related to a desire to exert power and control over another, a vulnerable being. And of course, animals are fairly accessible. So that can also be a contributing factor. There, in many areas in the country, there is an overpopulation of unwanted cats. So it's not hard for individuals to get access to cats. There's also research that points to animal maltreatment as being part of coercion. So some individuals are coerced into committing cases of animal maltreatment. So there can be a number of factors that come into play in individual cases.
What about age? Does it is there anything in the research that suggests a difference between how an adult might or the intent or the driving force behind how an adult might be doing this, or why an adult might be doing this versus why a child might be doing this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of the research has focused on adolescents and has found that it's referred to by some as dirty play. So for some adolescents, they engage in harming animals as a form of, experimentation, but they don't go on to commit other crimes. But the research that has been conducted on older individuals does indicate that the motivation can be different, and the age, if it persists across the life course, that can be indicative of more severity, I'll say, than among young adolescents who are doing it as a form of, experimentation and socialization with a friend group.
Amy, the RCMP has said this is the worst case of animal cruelty it's dealt with, and has also expressed concern about folks involved in crimes against animals because there might be a connection between violent behavior escalating and involving humans. Is there a link between animal cruelty and empathy?
Well, the research, there's been quite a bit of research within the past few years, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So it does appear that empathy or a lack of empathy, can come into play. But the research is indicating that the relationship between animal maltreatment and human violence is more nuanced than we tend to think, or that's displayed, in movies and things like that. So there might not be a neat linear progression from harming animals to harming people, but one might begin by harming people that they're unfamiliar with, and then escalate to harming their own pets, then to people. So it's not necessarily a linear progression, but a lot of the research is pointing to a connection between animal maltreatment and forms of human violence.
Is it clear to you what people can do to root out and curb animal abuse? If this is proven in court, what we've described?
Yeah, well, I think, probably the only positive thing around this case is that someone reported it. So I encourage people, if they suspect animal abuse, animal maltreatment, to report it. Things to watch out for include high turnover in animals in a home, obviously animals in, poor condition, when, if you suspect neglect and things like that. So it's important to report because, as I mentioned, the vast majority of animal maltreatment cases go unreported. And we really do need people to step up and report this, this type of thing if they suspect it, or any type of animal maltreatment, really.
Amy, thank you for making time and space to talk about this, and take good care.
You're welcome.
Amy Fitzgerald is a professor of sociology and criminology at the University of Windsor.